My name is Josh Garlick. I'm CEO and founder of Arctic Empire. We just launched, I guess you would say, a 2-year-long project that we've been working on. It's currently launched in Canada. It's called Office Attacks. And it's all about that stereotype of working in an office environment. We've all been there. We've all done that. We know the ups and downs of it. And is there sound here, by the way? Had a little video. Anyways, not working. I had a trailer. If you guys want to check it out, it's officeattacks.com. We've got a nice video trailer for it. It was done here by one of our developers, Tim. It's a really, really good trailer. It gives you a good insight of it. I know how to use a PC anymore. I'm serious, I really don't. Alright guys.
Are your coworkers annoying? Have you got irritable boss syndrome? Do your teammates' phone conversations make you want to launch them into the sun? Strike back with Office Attacks. Office Attacks is a new tower defense game where you build the towers out of turbocharged office pieces.
It's raining pieces.
With over 90 different pieces available, there are over 1 million tower combinations.
So many towers.
Don't like your pieces? Give them the business with the welder.
Now it's awesome.
Towers not enough? You also get powers.
So powerful.
Defend Steve from insane interns and crazy colleagues with pencils, paper airplanes, coffee cups, floppy disks, and even frickin' laser beams. With over 39 levels, do you have what it takes to reach the boss battle? It's time to delegate some pain.
That's the trailer we came up with for the game. I think it's pretty neat, pretty cool. What's cool is that it's been a 2-year-long project, and that's kind of the result we got. So just kind of following the theme is like, what do we kind of do right? I think we came up with a really unique, innovative way of doing something with tower defense. A lot of it's been done with fantasy and kind of castle and all that. And we were kind of just wondering like what we could do to really kind of take tower defense in a different direction. And so one of the ideas we kind of came up with, obviously, Office Attacks, is that everyone's worked in an office space. We all know what it's like to have those pesky coworkers. They come and they tell you what their problems. Like, quit smoking. My mom kicked me out. My girlfriend broke up with me. Blah blah blah. It's just nonstop. So we decided to do something about that and kind of allow people to kind of indulge into their fantasies, I guess you would say, and came up with this tower defense game where we use office equipment to defend your desk. Now, the interesting idea is that this all started kind of this as a simple idea, and then we started building and building and building and kind of just started modularizing these towers, and soon enough we're like, hey, guess what, we can all stack these really cool ideas of stacking these towers together, and now there's over a million tower combinations. So it's a lot of customization and a lot of freedom within the game. I guess some of the things that I'll kind of walk through this, but the uniqueness of the characters. It's got they all have some really, really cool features. They all have unique walk animations, death animations, power-ups, specials. So you never really know what you're going to get with the different characters. You have your secretary who kind of comes over to your desk and blabs away. You got your janitors constantly bumping the table with their mopping and all that kind of stuff. The CEO kind of comes over and grinds you out. You got your interns who are like, your one-off pawns and kind of just like bump into you, and they're kind of just, fresh out of school and kind of dopey looking. So, we got all these cool characters and a lot of cool characters. Actually, there's 10 of them, so pretty neat. One of the other things I think we did really well was we first started this idea, and I'll show you the graphics. It was this top-down view. It was actually the ugliest fucking graphics you could possibly imagine. It was terrible. And this just wasn't going to cut it for us. I mean, so we just decided, okay, we got to go in a different direction. And we started playing with different graphics and different ideas, and we're like, okay, let's go with an isometric view. So we did that. And then it just kept growing and growing and growing. But that change, which was a huge change for us, because it made the difference of putting out a really crappy game to putting out a really good quality game. And this is something we just kind of noticed now is now with launching, the game's live in Canada. The reason we did this is to get some traffic in the game, look at metrics, look at numbers, and tweak it based on how the users are playing the game. So one of the things, and let me tell you this by the way, the tutorial is honest to God one of the hardest things you'll ever have to write in a game. A complicated game like Tower Defense or a complicated game like Office Attacks. I think we've written like 15 different tutorials. So it was not easy. One of the things we did notice was a lot of the traffic was kind of dying off. The tutorial was too long. We were introducing to this customization way too early. So now we're going to be releasing a Christmas update. It's actually going to be going up live, well not live, we're sending on Friday. And now you're 2 clicks, you're in the game. So it's a huge difference of probably we were at 17 clicks into the game versus 2 clicks into the game. So it's a huge difference that we're hoping is going to make a big difference. So the game was actually kind of going back to that whole idea is that this is our developer in New York. Kind of you can see the resemblance. He has a lot less hair right now, by the way. So it's this is Steve. You're this lonely developer coming into the game, and you know you're kind of just all you want to do is just code. I'm just a coder. I want to just work and just leave me the fuck alone, right? So sorry, I curse a lot, so if it offends anyone. So so you kind of see this is some of the graphics. Like that's our initial world. I mean, it's pretty crappy looking, right? So it's a huge difference between a top-down view, just very bland-looking graphics to a lot of I mean, it's a huge difference to a lot of depth, a lot of really cool graphics, and a lot of really cool animation. These are our towers. So this was our original pencil sharpeners, and you can kind of see the Generation 1 versus Generation 2. So we went with a lot of really cool, different looking towers. You got your Gatling guns, you got your pencil sharpeners, water coolers, you got a portal. I mean, this is just the start. This is just the tower. This is just the pencil sharpener. So we got a lot of really cool things. And like I said, these are all modularized. So they actually break down to 5 different pieces, and you stack them all together to combine with a whole different variety of tower combinations. So these are the old curve workers. Again, they look pretty crappy. No offense to the designer who did it, just it was like 2 years ago. So I'm just gonna go through that to the new coworkers, where you kind of see you got your main guy Steve, you got a sexy nurse, you got a nerd, you got the CEO. So all those different types of individuals you would see in an office environment. So now that I've told you what we did right, what did we do wrong? Everything. This was a 2-year-long development cycle. Now, thanks, Kyle. Appreciate that. To be fair, it was actually more of a 1.5 years. We're a small team. We've been around just under 4 years. We're coming up on 4 years now. And I mean, we've had a whole whack load of different people working on this project. We started, I think, 4 people to up to close to 12. So, and making all these changes definitely affects the development cycle a lot more than people may think. So, and then in that process, we were doing client work for a bunch of clients because our games weren't making any money. So, to keep development up and running and the company going, we did some contract work. We actually built a really cool real-time multiplayer card game system. So we moved back onto that, and like I said, we just launched in Canada. We're going worldwide before Christmas. Feature creep. So I wanted to give a talk this past year at OIGC. It's called Feature Creep, You Asshole. And because it really is, it's honest to God, it is an asshole. We have a very creative team. The problem is we're probably too creative in the sense where we just have to throw everything but the kitchen sink into the game. And when you're sitting there and you're talking about a game and you're pitching someone, you're at GDC and you're talking about, and you keep going and, you know there's something wrong, because it's just, that's not a 2-minute elevator pitch. It's just, you're trying to get everything in, and it's not gonna happen. So we actually, to get the game ready for Canada launch, we ripped out 2 huge components in this project. One was a minigame system where actually we built 3 separate individual games to run inside this game. So we built an Angry Birds clone, an Office Bolt clone, and a Fruit Slice Ninja clone. We call them all Office Bolt, Office Ninja, and Office Bird. And what was really cool is that you launched this power-up, and an iPad would open up within the iPad, and you got to play a 15-second minigame, and based on how you did, it actually affected damage to your coworker. So that engagement factor was huge. The problem was just to get all this stuff in there, it was just way too much. The next really cool thing that we took out, and again, the reason I took this out was that while we had a trading system, so we have all these towers and pieces, you can trade with your friends over Facebook and different things. We had no knowledge of whether or not this feature was going to do anything. It's like we spent all this time building this game, and then here we are. It's like, okay, we're going to go down this 6 to 8 week development cycle on a feature that we have no idea if it's going to do anything for the game. So I just basically said, okay, let's take it out. Granted, we did build it about a year ago. It was built incorrectly due to poor documentation, so that's another thing. Have good documentation. I'll skip the blew up the iPad in 1 second, and come back to it. The other thing that we did was we kind of decided to go develop this game exclusively for iPad. This, in some cases, can do very, very well. In other cases, it cannot. We found out very quickly that when we were pitching this game, and it's like, oh, can I get it on my phone? We're like, shit, sorry. So we actually just recently, just really quickly ported the game over from iPad over to the iPhone. So it is available from iPhone right now. The UI is not 100% where we'd like it to be, but it's actually a very good representation of the app. This kind of happened, like I was in the shower on a first Saturday night, and I'm like, it's like, why can't we just do this? Blah, blah. I get on the phone with my developer, and we're kind of hacking this together of like how we can get it on the iPad, and you know what, sure enough, it worked. So that was really cool. The other thing that I would say we did not do very well is we did not have a dedicated QA person. So it's, developers are developers, they're not QA people. They can QA, they can bug test all they want. But at the end of the day, like, you need someone who's going to play the game, find those bugs, and submit those bugs. And we didn't do a very good job of that. So one of the things that helped us towards the end was actually bringing on someone dedicated for just even like 2 weeks, and just playing the game, trying to break it, and finding those bugs that we weren't finding. The biggest thing that I would say is that, so all this animation that we did, while it's really great, it honest to God blew up the iPad. I mean, it literally just crashed every fucking device we tried to run. So to explain a little bit about that, I'm actually going to ask one of the lead developers, Tim, to come up and kind of just talk about that a little bit, and I'll jump back on and I'll talk a little bit more about the game.
Hello, I'm Tim, and I'm one of the developers in Office Tax. So I just want, this is part of this is a talk I gave at Dirty Rectangles last year, but I have a few slides at the end to extend it because it went beyond what I talked about last year. So the problem was, as Josh said, we had like a ton of animation, like dealing with all the tower pieces, with Steve and all the enemies. There's something like 10,000 frames of animation in all. There's all like the tower firing animations, and the towers are in like 8 different directions, and it all adds up. So when I started there, the art had all been done in Flash. So like a lot of companies, all the Flash frames had been exported to bitmaps, and they created sprite sheets. And the sprite sheets were like 170 megabytes for the towers, Steve, and the enemies. And they hadn't even exported the towers in Retina, so that would have been like 250 megabytes.
Major fuck up.
So I'm looking at this and I'm seeing like just one enemy, the crybaby. Her like retina and non-retina, like the sprite sheets, they're like 5.8 megabytes. And I'm looking at the source flash file and it's 75K. It's like, what are we doing? So I started trying to see like if I could render from as vector data instead of like a billion bitmaps. So I looked at a whole bunch of tools. I guess like this one couldn't get it to work. That one, like, since SVG is like another vector format, I started experimenting with that, and I exported one of the frames of the crybaby to SVG, and there was this tool called Porky that could convert SVG to Objective-C, and it sounded neat, but this was a really naive thing to do because like when you have that many frames of animation, you don't really want to have like 10,000 like subroutines to draw these enemies, but you live and learn. So after like failing a few times, I decided to try and like read the Swift files directly. So then I started like looking at the Swift spec. This was one of the early attempts with rendering SVG, and I converted to have the scale is off, the colors are off, it says emo over here instead of memo. Then got the scale right, but she looks like a vampire. Here it's looking a lot better, but like it's completely flat, there are no gradients. And here I finally got it working. This is like the SVG file for reference, and this was done in code. But then, as I said, I started parsing Flash, and Flash was written, like, the original Flash spec was written a long time ago, so when there was like really low bandwidth. So they do stuff like have 9-bit and 15-bit numbers to save space. So you have to like unpack it and sign extend and like all sorts of fun stuff. They'll like use vertices for like multiple, they'll say like there's a line here and there's a point here that goes to this point, but every vertex has a line and 2 fills. So instead of like saying here's a line and here's a polygon and here's a polygon, it's just one vertex, and it's like reused. Say this vertex is like blue polygon, red polygon, and just pretend there's like a green outline. And although like the Swift spec has like a billion different tags for playing music, like running commands and stuff, all our art you just used define shape, place object, remove object, and show frame. There's actually more than one define shape command because as they added functionality, like the original define shapes, they like didn't have alpha, so they wouldn't need alpha, so they just made a new define shape command. Then we need a new like line type with end caps, so create a new define shape command. So this was my first attempt at parsing Flash, parsing Swift files. This was the SVG for reference, but I didn't read the color and all the transforms are wrong, but you can see your head, it might be a hand, sort of a torso. And I screwed up all the colors, screwed up the colors again, screwed up the colors some more. I think a lot of problems were, like as I said, they do all sorts of bit twitting, so in some cases I accidentally skipped a bit or misinterpreted a bit or just got something else wrong. Getting a little better. And what's happening here is my reference tool it wasn't like these tiers are supposed to be clipped to your cheeks, but the exporter tool I was using for reference didn't do that. But I wasn't rendering them at this point anyway because I didn't have that functionality built in. But these are actually something called morph shapes. Right? So here's the hipster. I'm missing a bunch of lines. I got them back. This next one's one of my favorites. As I said, they're clip shapes. So you can have a shape, say like a cylinder or whatever, and you can say that everything that I draw is clipped to this cylinder. So when our hipster dies, a hole opens up underneath him and he falls through. So instead of clipping him to the hole, I accidentally clipped every single shape. So instead of like cutting the whole body off here, it's got half a head, half a hair, half of glasses, half of torso. Oh, and so this was the first attempt at drawing the crybaby in OpenGL. Yes, that was really nice. And this was another improved attempt at drawing in OpenGL. So here's where our development sort of diverged. Our summer intern Tyler was trying to improve drawing the enemies in OpenGL. Well, what were we doing? Again, this is also pretty naive, but we're actually triangulating all the curves and trying to draw the enemies everything like as a billion triangles, and that really didn't work out because we don't have like the throughput for that. But one time on the bus ride home, I thought, since basically a Swift file is like basically a shape library, why don't we just pre-render all these shapes and then just transform them at runtime? So for the CEO enemy, it basically ended up looking like this. So you have hair, head, coin and the dollar are used for death animations, torsos, mouths, different eye shapes. So this is pretty small. It's like 718 by 128. The entire data for the CEO graphics is 215K. Before, he was like 3.6 megabytes, which is like this. Yeah, so there's like 80 copies of his big head. So taking up, we were using a different spreadsheet for every single animation because these animations were just so big. So yeah, it's like attack, another attack, death, evasion, hit, and walk cycle. And also for the tower, here we have the Gatling gun pencil job here. It's, the body is 8 different orientations, and the base and little pieces. So this is 114 by 1781, whereas our sprite sheets were huge. Like this is like 4,000 by 2,600, just the body. So, and the front piece is 1024 by 1024. So basically now, instead of storing like a billion body pieces, we just say, okay, so here's the body here, and the arm is like this way, then this way, then this way, then this way, then this way, and it's all rendered at runtime. These were my attempts at getting the crybaby rendering properly. Basically, in the first one, I was purposely drawing the entire shape sheet just to test my shader, and these other ones were basically getting the U's and B's and X's and Y's wrong. And almost done. This is our tower piece tool scheme. So, so as Josh said, like all these towers are built up in different pieces. So, so this semi-transparent one is the body, and we tell it, okay, this is where the top attaches to the body, This is where the front attaches to the body, this is where the base attaches to the body, and left and right. So basically what happens is, if we have another tower whose right piece, anchor point is over here, and we want to put that right piece of that pencil sharpener or whatever onto this water cooler, we just displace it to over here. And that's how we put pieces from all these different office equipment pieces all together. And it's just a little fact I did for the nerd. The nerd, his special ability is to disable the most expensive tower within range. And Josh also had this image, but one thing I wanted to mention is a really fun idea that I had a while back was, as you can see, it's a little small, but on Steve's desk there's a bobblehead. So I just for each enemy, I found the standing frame and identified all the shapes that were in the head. So then I draw the body a little smaller, then take all the head shapes and just wiggle them around like a bobblehead. So then when you touch the bobblehead, it wiggles more. Or you can shake the iPad. And if you were at our launch party, you might have seen this. I built a 30-inch tower of the blue pencil sharpener. And finally,
as you can see, we give a lot of free creativity to our developers to have some good time. So as you can see, we really did blow up the iPad. It literally crashed every device we tried to run it on. And now you can understand why. So this is actually just going back. So this is actually a screenshot of our mini game. So this is Office Bolt. So it's a replica of Cannibal. It's an endless runner played within the game. And based on how far you go within the game, or this mini game, it'll affect a certain amount of damage to your coworkers. We had some really cool updates coming up. What Office doesn't have a slob, right? So his actually, this is probably one of my favorite characters, really. What he does is when he gets to Steve at the end of the desk, he sits down and he starts to eat. And when he dies, he has a heart attack, collapses. So, what the guy? So this is actually a very interesting character. This was the hipster girl. And what was really interesting about her is that her abilities actually stacked. So she was a graphic designer, and based on what she wrote on the piece of paper or a notepad would actually come to life. So she'd get wings, she'd have roller skates, she'd have a shield, she'd eat a sandwich to make herself more healthy, improve the health. And then when she would get hit enough, she would draw a bomb and blow up. Now what's interesting about this one is that instead of being sane and run these abilities all separately, we decided to try to stack them and have them kind of be at random and go all together. That was another big mistake. This character, I think, what was it, just 100 megabytes alone or something like that? Just like her, it was just, it was just insane. So we scrapped her out of the game, and we're now with that system that Tim kind of just talked to you about. We're actually, we can actually run this in-game on the iPad 1, and it will run. So that's pretty cool. So we have some new towers. So again, I talked about a little bit of parity, right? So it's, so one of this idea is that we have a Buzz Lightyear tower in the game as well. I don't know if anyone's ever played it, but they've seen it. So this is kind of R2 Bean 2. It's a coffee maker. We're probably going to get sued by LucasArts, but any publicity is good publicity, right? So we're going to put this into the game as well in an update. And what game would not be complete with a cat in the hat coffee maker? Coffee. Basically, the arm moves all over the place and it throws coffee at you. It's really, really cool. So that's kind of my mini post-mortem. I mean, we've done. There's been a ton of work done on this game. So with your help, just go out and download it. We have some really cool stuff coming up as far as like a Christmas theme and just some new levels, and we're going to be constantly updating it with some really cool stuff. And if anyone's really interested, they can buy the CEO bobblehead for $1,000. So just for shits and giggles. So, you know, thanks guys for listening to us, and, you know, support a local studio here in Ottawa and download the game. Thanks guys.
How long do you think it would have taken to develop the game if you didn't have the original, like, the texture issues with asset memory?
The textures, I don't think actually was our biggest, I mean, it was a big problem, but it was, what, 3-4 months worth of work, off and on, but I think it was actually kind of taking this idea of this smaller style game with this top-down view and just kind of growing with it, and redoing the assets, redoing the graphics, and it's a good question. I actually would not know. I don't want to know.
I understand.
Tim?
I heard there's an online builder.
Oh, yes! My apologies. Why? What? Oh,
No, you forgot the S.
You forgot the S.
Oh, that's what.
That may be like a virus thing.
Office attack.
Did I spell it right this time? There we go. So this is the Office Attack site. So again, you can see the trailer, meet the staff, so you can kind of see a little bit about them, what they do, and all that. Up. And so for fun, like Tim built this actually. It's actually really cool. It's a little mini tower builder. So if you want to just kind of play with it a little bit on the side, and block it because it's flash. Are you serious? It's not working. Isn't it? It's flash, right?
No, it's Coco Studio HTML5.
Well, it's not working.
Firefox.
Forget it, guys. That's all right. All right. I don't know what's going on. Anyways, check it out, awesometacks.com. It's pretty cool. You get all the pieces unlocked, and you can put them all together and have some fun with it. And share it obviously on Facebook and Twitter. Any other questions?
So what's next for your studio? Are you gonna work right away on an original IP, or?
No, we're gonna put some love into this first and make sure that our conversion and retention is where we need it to be. Try to make some money off of it, which is every game developer's dream. And we're going to be doing some contract work. We're probably going to be doing pivoting into more of like a digital agency to start. We are working continuously on a casino suite. We just launched something called Empire Casino. And kind of that idea is launching probably about we built a framework, and we're launching about a game every week to 2 weeks. It's like niche card games, 3-card poker, blackjack, Pai Gow, if anyone's ever played that. We're actually supposed to be submitting slots tonight, so we got a whole Christmas theme table, and it's actually a really fun little slots game. So we're gonna be focusing on that, and hopefully some contract work going forward.
And did you get any financing for this stuff?
We got some money from IRAP. We got a $25,000 grant from IRAP for actually our mini game system, which didn't go into the first build. So, and then we got also about a $15,000-$20,000 grant from IRAP for a social media and marketing push. So one thing we did again, we got a very large SHRED claim back for this. So if anyone for here doesn't know what SHRED is, it's Scientific Research Experimental Development Tax Credit, where the federal government's really, really nice about this, and they basically reward you for all your fuck-ups, to say the least. So we actually, that whole system that Tim kind of talked to you guys about, we got a very large grant back because we came up with some pretty cool technology. We actually filed a patent for it in the US and Canada. So it's a pretty neat little system, and I'm not sure we'll do anything with it just yet, but it's something that, it's another piece of IP that the company has.
Plus you're gonna find more games.
Sorry?
Plus you're gonna
Yes.
find more games.
Yes. So, yeah.
Knowing the technical hurdles of the
assets, would you, if you had the chance, would you have redone the graphics in a different format?
Probably, yes.
What kind of monetization scheme are you guys using?
So it's free to play at the moment in Canada. So the monetization is all about the customization of the towers. So that's really the kind of interesting idea behind the tower defense. When we go worldwide, we are going to launch it as a premium. It's going to go $3.99 worldwide with a promotion to 99 cents and then going to free about a month after. So the idea is that we're going to hopefully hit some revenue right out of the gates, tower defense genre, especially of this quality, which I personally think is AAA title. I'm not saying it's because I'm biased, because it's my own product and my own IP, but I actually do believe it is one of the highest quality products I've seen on the App Store, excluding Unity. Yeah, so the idea is to go $3.99, go promotion on 99 cents, which will allow all the aggregators on the internet to notify of the price drop, and then go free, which will then bring you into different charts and different categories. So you kind of want to spread yourself across the paid versions and then going into the free versions.
Have you ever considered in-app purchases?
Well, that's the payment model. So you buy, so you buy, basically you're monetizing. So the power-ups are paid for with cha-chings. Cha-chings are virtual currency, and then you buy cha-chings to buy tower pieces that allow you to put them together. You do collect tower pieces throughout the game. So we kind of built it in the sense of allowing the individual to farm cha-chings if they want and collect tower pieces. But to really advance in the upper levels, you do have to create your own towers. Tim?
I just wanted to answer one of the other questions a little bit. There are some like animation tools that would be better, like that would help out, but they didn't exist back when we did this. There's a Spine, Spriter, and one that I just found out recently called Dragon Bones, which apparently is like some sort of plugin for Flash that lets you like work in Flash, but sort of like assign volumes and stuff. But I haven't used it, but you can check them out. If I was doing a new project, I'd check these out before doing everything.
Before we spend 6 months building a animation.
Is there a link between Critter Chase and this game?
Sorry?
Is there a link between Critter Chase and this game?
Critter Craze?
Between Critter Chase, the other game?
Oh, it's called Critter Craze. That was actually, no, Critter Craze is just, funny, it started off as a little side project, and of course side projects tend to grow, especially with the team we have, we like to feature creep, and you gotta throw everything in the game. So, no, it was done, that was actually an interesting project. We saw we kind of jumped on the bandwagon of the Match 3 Candy Crush hype, and so one of our developers, Walter, he built it actually in Hacks, OpenFL. And so it's right now built for iOS and Android. We're submitting it to iOS as well. Just launched in the Android. It was really just more like a friendly Match 3 fun mission style game.
I was asking because you're using cha-ching.
Yeah, so cha-chings is kind of, we own the trademark for cha-ching for US and Canada. So it's kind of our virtual currency across all games. That's kind of what we're trying to brand that as an Arctic Empire virtual currency. Sorry, there is a link, yes.
What would you do differently to keep feature creep in check for the next project?
Fire my graphic designer and game designer? No, I'm just kidding. I think it's a matter of better project planning. This was a 2-year-long project. We were a bit more in the infancy stage. We had done some smaller games. This is a much bigger game for us. So we're also a lot more educated in knowing what's going into gaming now. We've done quite a few projects, and I think we're just better set up for understanding what needs to be done, and better documentation as well. And a really strong PM. I think that every successful company has 1 or 2 really, really strong product or project managers that keep projects on task. Anything else?
You just mentioned about the cha-chings, and you were saying that you will be using that as a global currency across all your games. Do you see a side effect to that? I mean, do you see a problem with that? Because I'm not seeing many games do that, and I'm wondering why they're not doing it. So I just wondered why you made this.
I think it's just it's a neat way of keeping things consistent across your games. When people search it and they see oh it's Cha-Ching's, it at some point may register saying hey I played a game before with virtual currency like Cha-Ching. So it's more from a branding perspective. It's just something that we kind of went with. Cha-Ching is really a very catchy, you know.
No, I get that completely. I was more concerned about using the same currency over different games.
I don't.
I mean, so you might need like a central place where you're going to register all these users?
So the thing is, the accounts currently don't transfer between game to game.
Oh,
So it's just the
that's
currency.
what
That's why it's sort of branding. So for Empire Casino product, we are right now they're all individual titles,
Oh,
but we are going to be putting in a central account system that allow you to transfer the currency from game to game.
oh.
But we're not doing that with our other
Oh, just
products.
wanted to know about that. That'd be interesting to see.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, guys.
I'll invite Cal from Smart Labs. For one, I think that it is interesting about those two titles is both of them has been published by Magmic. So, no, not yet. We're okay. With the party, I was kind of trying.
Yeah, we're in negotiation.
Okay. So, okay. Cal, sign up here.